Hey guys, welcome back to Connor Reads. If it is your first time, we're really excited to have you. If you are returning, welcome back, fantasy lovers. Today is part 4 of A Crown of Swords in Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, and it is going to be spoilers from the outset and throughout, as always. So let's hop into it. So we actually have a really cool scene to start with. We have Birgit and Avinda, and they convince Elaine and, almost Nynaeve to go and apologize to Matt for something that happened all the way back in the 3rd book, if I'm not mistaken. So when Matt rescued them from I believe they were in like a dungeon or a cellar, and they were guarded by someone of a black Arja, he rescued them and they never said thank you, and it's been great ever since. And to be honest, I had forgotten about it because so much had happened, but I'm sure if I was Matt, it would grate on me as well. I think that this is something that everybody in the book should think, wow, maybe we would all be better friends and get along better and achieve our goals if we all thought like this. So they headed on over to where Matt was saying to apologize to him. Honestly, the apology scene, it wasn't fantastic, but eventually they got round to it. Everyone made up with each other, and as they were leaving, they are grabbed by the Mistress of the Inn. Now, her name, I believe, is Sital, and she believes that the two women are pretending to be Aes Sedai. She believes that the sun shines out of Matt and no one can tell her any different. And what she decides to do is take these two women, our heroes, Elaine and Nynaeve, to the secret circle. Now, this is definitely Matt's Tavaran pull on the pattern taking a hold. If they hadn't gone to apologize, there's no way this would have happened. But basically what Sital does is she doesn't believe they're Aes Sedai, so she takes them to a secret ring or circle of women who can channel in this city of Ebu Dar. Now, I believe in the description there's like somewhere between 50 and 200 of them, but we don't see those. And it's like a combination of women who weren't strong enough to go to the tower, or were kicked out of the tower, or ran away. From my understanding, like that's what most of them are made up from. And although that's been said, some of the ones that we meet are pretty powerful. So my prediction for this is, I think that maybe the entirety of the Black Arja is in Ebu Dar. It seems like a lot of people are congregating to Ebu Dar, and I can imagine mobilizing these women is going to be really important to the success of our heroes. So I predict that at some point, these women all mobilize, they come out into the open to fight the good fight. And then we leave those heroes, which is really frustrating. One thing I have loved about this book is that it does hop storylines. We go from one storyline to the next really quickly, meaning as the reader, it is fun because some of the other books we've stayed with one character for huge chunks of book to go through politics and conversations and things that really don't progress the storyline, whereas this one is going quickly. And some people told me that the slog that I've heard of, the difficult part of reading this series, starts in this book, and I'm really optimistic because I just haven't read any part of it, anything that felt like a slog at any point so far. Small negative of that is that when I do these videos, we've only done a chapter or 2 with each person, but let's move on. Now, one character, and I actually can't remember who now, was mentioned Jain Farstrider again. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. Jain Farstrider seems to be like the only fictional character that anyone has written about in this universe, and every single book we get a mention of him being in a story or in a book that the characters mention. Now, I was just thinking, because it was like the umpteenth time I've heard of him now, maybe in this world where people are recycled and spat back out by the pattern, maybe we are going to see Jain Farstrider. So a little side note is that I believe eventually we will see Jain Farstrider. If he's a real character, I would love that, because I've heard so much about his adventures. Well, not even so much about his adventures, just so much about him having adventures in these stories. So it would be cool to meet that guy if that's possible. Next, we join Moghedien, and she is having a terrible time. We join her and she's essentially reliving what happened, and something that gets mentioned is Arangar, who releases her from the Adem and sends her with the message back to the Pit of Doom to go and speak with the Dark One, uses something called, what they call, the true source or the true power. Now, this obviously means that the Dark One has like his own power, and I would imagine that's what the taint is as well. I imagine it's like a weird way to describe it, but like a pure version of the taint. That would be my guess. And what that means is like the true power, no, not the true power, that's what he called his. The Saidin and Saidar are coming from the creator, surely. So if the Dark One has his own version, then the creator does as well. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. You know, I feel like these are the kind of things that get unveiled nearer the end of the series, but yeah, it's an interesting one to think on. Anyway, Moghedien has been sent to the Pit of Doom, and she's essentially just reliving all of her experiences and her failures. And dare I say, I feel a little bit sorry for her, because what happens is the elongated Midril, the tall Midril, who seems to be, you know, in like a weird position of power, especially for a Midril. I believe his name is Shaida Haran. Seems like a really like dangerous and cool character, and really has no qualms about sticking it on the Forsaken as well. So he must have some weird like position, not necessarily above the Forsaken, because I know Moghedien, she messed up a lot, and that's why she is where she is. So he probably wouldn't do the same to the rest of the Forsaken, but he seems to be like, not a mouthpiece, but almost like a spokesperson. So I suppose, yeah, like a mouthpiece for the Dark One. He seems to be like his chosen minion for right now. And something gets created. The name is really complicated, but I believe they call it a mind trap. And essentially she gets past ownership from our girls, so Nynaeve, Elaine, and Egwene. And now her ownership has been passed to someone whose name means death. And I definitely shouldn't feel sorry for one of the Forsaken. Like Moghedien, she sucks. Like, she's been terrible for thousands of years. However, like, she is really just a slave. She's been a slave to our girls, and as far as being a slave goes, you know, our girls weren't that terrible as owners, I suppose. However, now, you know, being a slave to someone who calls himself Death sounds terrible. So my prediction is, I doubt she'll ever turn on the Dark One. Like, she seems completely committed to that. But I could imagine she turns on this person who's deaf. And my guess would be this person is a Forsaken brought back, as so many seem to be, you know, spat back out by the pattern. Who it is, I don't know. I haven't worked out a list of who's still alive and who we've lost. But I doubt it's anyone who's been out for a while, so it must be someone either new who we haven't met, or maybe one of the ones that Rand killed right near the start. So yeah, my prediction is that I think she might cause a bit of chaos for this Forsaken that she has to help with now. Nothing direct, obviously, because the mind trap seems to be extremely efficient at what it does, way more efficient than even the Adem. But I think she will find a way to have a little redemption, and I'm all for it. I'd like a little bit of a Moghedien redemption. Like, I just feel sorry for her. Like, she's been just sucking, like in the suck, for like a book and a half now, I think. And again, I know she's not a good character. She's not someone I should feel sorry for, but I just do. And in our other storyline, the Seanchan have arrived, and they have arrived nowhere that I predicted that they would. So the High Lady Suroth is here as like the ambassador of the Forerunners, I believe. And these people just seem inherently evil. Like, they are doing a lot of things that the Forsaken seem to have done. My only guess other than that would be maybe, is it Demandred, who likes to capture people and make them dance and stuff, which is something that Suroth did as well. Unless that is she is the Forsaken, I don't know how that would happen. But they did fly in on the bats as well, so maybe I'm onto something there. But anyway, these people seem inherently evil, and what's happened is Moghedien has said the unrevocable words, meaning that she, even if it's just in her own eyes, isn't queen anymore. And I've been a little bit disappointed in Moghedien. I think that she could have been stronger. I think she could have achieved more, and she really does have like a weird flirtatious thing going on with, is it Talinvor? And I don't know, that one doesn't really sit right with me. Now the Seanchan, if it is really them who's arrived, and I believe it is, you know, because they have some of the beasts that they had previously, etc. And it was about time. It's been teased that they were going to land. If it is really them arriving, I think this is going to be massive. And I don't think this gets resolved in this book at all. I feel like the Seanchan are going to be like an antagonist for several books, if not, you know, part of the rest of the series. And what's cool about this is it throws in like an extra factor. What the factor is that we don't know how they're going to react to the Forsaken. So we have a few options here. One option is the Forsaken do what they've done with every other nation, and they infiltrate the top layer of the Seanchan and end up just running that faction. But for some reason, I don't think that's going to happen, because the Seanchan have so many Daman and the ladies, I'm probably mispronouncing that, but the women who can channel on the ends of the Adem. So that's going to make them, you know, really powerful. Our other option is somehow the Seanchan and the Forsaken end up butting heads. So if their goal, the Seanchan, is to, you know, dominate this mainland that they've landed on, which it sounds like it is, a lot of the Forsaken have set themselves up as like kings or queens or you know, heads of state. So this means that their army is going to be going to war, and it really does throw a spanner in the works. Now I can't imagine Rand ever teaming up with a Forsaken, maybe for like a short period of time. You know, some of them are inclined to help him out so that they could become, you know, the wise ones. Underling, can't remember the name for it, it's such a good, Nay Bliss, to become Nay Bliss. They maybe, you know, team up with Rand for a short period of time just to kill other Forsaken, but as a whole we might have, you know, several factions going into war together, which makes it really interesting. And then we also have the Whitecloaks. Now, just before the Seanchan attacked like their stronghold, most of the Whitecloaks, unless I'm mistaken, sailed out to attack the Prophet and deal with his forces. So finally we're going to get some kind of resolution on the Prophet, and the Dragonsworn, I believe, is the name of everyone that he's rustled up. Now what also has happened is Perrin has been sent in that direction as well, with quite a vast army. I think it's probably about 1,000 plus. He has some Asherman, he has some Aes Sedai, and he is Tavarem. And in that direction, what I think will happen is a couple of things. Now, either the Whitecloaks could hear news that their, you know, home area, or the place where they've set up base, has been conquered, and they could turn around and attack, but I don't think that's going to happen. What I do think is going to happen is Perrin takes charge of the Prophet's forces, because surely he should relinquish it to, maybe not willingly to Perrin, but he's got a good claim of anyone outside of Rand. And then what they're going to do is rout the Whitecloaks, and then we can focus on the Seanchan, maybe a book in the future. Another interesting thing that happened is essentially kind of like the hand, the spy master of the Whitecloaks, of Pedron Nile before he was killed, is the person who escaped with Moghedien. Now, I don't know how important he's going to be right now, but that person has a ton of great information. Now, when it's time for us to try and infiltrate that headquarters that the Seanchan have taken, I don't know how long they're going to, you know, have it for, that guy, the head of the spy master, will actually have a ton of insightful information. So I'm excited to see what they can get out of him, if he can change his allegiances, which he might do, might be disillusioned with the Whitecloaks as to how, you know, his master, Pedron Nile, was deposed so just savagely. And it really was a betrayal. There was no honor in it at all. So I think he might be key as well to some success further down the line. Outside of that, it's just a brief one. Like I said, I think I read about 10 chapters since we last spoke, but they were here, there, and everywhere. We just jumped from one to the other, to the other, to the other. So I believe my next one might be the penultimate part for this book, and I'm excited to read more. As you may have noticed, I bought a second bookshelf. It's the same one. I put them together, and now I have a bigger bookshelf behind me. I believe it looks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. You tell me, rate my bookshelf, don't be too harsh. And I've got so many books that I don't have here in America. They're in the UK, and my goal this year is to slowly rebuy those series and have them on the bookshelf so that I have everything I read as a kid. But I came to a dilemma. So some things I love to read as like a young adult. I'm 28 now, so definitely, you know, a little bit older than a young adult, I would say. I'd say young adult reading is like, surely it's like 12 or 13 through to like 18 to 20. But I really want to reread some of this stuff. So Harry Potter, for example, I haven't reread that since I was, you know, quite young, probably since the 7th book came out, even though I reread a lot of the first ones, waiting for the later ones to come out. Do you guys reread those things? What things do you like to reread outside of Wheel of Time? And are there any young adult series that you read on a regular basis? Let me know. Outside of that, please like and subscribe. If there is anybody who loves Wheel of Time and you think they'd enjoy these videos, please send them the first in the series. And really excited to read on. Speak to you soon.